So good morning, everyone. Uh, First of all, I want to thank TBT BIRAC for agreeing to conduct this workshop in collaboration with BITS-Pilani. And we hope this workshop is going to help a lot of participants who have joined today from this workshop. To start with, I want to pay my regards to Professor Barai, Director Pilani Campus, BITS-Pilani Campus, who has graced us with his presence today itself. And from Hyderabad campus, we have Professor Sanket, Dean Sponsored Research Division, University-wide, who has also joined us for this workshop. In addition to that, I welcome all the participants from BITS-Pilani campuses, different faculties within BITS-Pilani campus, outside BITS-Pilani campus, research scholars, students, and other participants, even startups, those who have registered for this workshop. So today's workshop is more focused on different schemes of BIRAC, which BIRAC promotes to inculcate an entrepreneurial culture to help faculties come out with innovations that can be taken forward, IP protected, can lead to technology commercialization. So our today's workshop will focus on the different schemes which BIRAC is promoting. In the second session, we will cover the different elements of effective grant writing that will help different participants who are thinking to apply for the different schemes of BIRAC, how they can effectively write these grants and secure a funding support from BIRAC itself. So as I just mentioned, today we are joined with Professor Barai, Director of BITS-Pilani. So I want to thank Professor Barai for taking out time to join this workshop and grace us and bless us with his presence. Professor Barai currently is holding the direct position at BITS-Pilani. He's also the director in charge for international programs, vice president BITS-Pilani, which is our Pilani Innovation and Entrepreneurship Society. And he's the board of director at BITS Biotech Foundation, which is a foundation supported by DST. Professor Barai has, before BITS-Pilani, has served a different administrative position at IIT Kanpur. And he has been very instrumental in heading the IP division of IIT Kharagpur, where he initiated a program of 100 patents in 100 days, which came out with some good number of patents and the speed fast the filing process at IIT Kanpur, which is a famous program. And we are learning great things about IP management from Professor Barai at BITS-Pilani itself. So I request Professor Barai to, sir, please come and welcome and give your opening remarks.
Thank you, Rajneesh, Professor Deepak Chitkara, Professor Sanket Goyal, and our guest, Dr. Sonali and Dr. Prachi, and all the participants, and of course, our partnering institutes for the TEC program from Vivekanand Global University, MNIT Jaipur, Central University of Rajasthan, and Bikaner Technological University, Maharana Pratap University of Agriculture and Technology, Udaipur. It's wonderful to see that the collaborative activities which happens across the platform, and BITS has been always on the forefront of collaborating with the various institutions beyond. Okay, I'm sorry for the audio. Okay, so what I just wanted to mention about is that BITS-Pilani has created the platform for collaborating with various academic institutions, the R&D labs, and many individuals who are coming out with the innovations in the startup segments. And one of the important aspect has been that BITS-Pilani has been recognized as a entrepreneur's factory in the desert. And this is something which has been on the forefront. And I'm very happy that the tech program which is happening at BITS-Pilani is collaborating with BIRAC for this wonderful workshop on demystifying the funding modalities for I4 and the PES schemes. I'm kind of little getting puzzled in the sense that the BITS-Pilani has been known as called its magic, and this magic is going to demystify the opportunities for the participants who are joining for this event. And I think it's a wonderful thing to be, because not only for the BITS, but also all many other academic institutions, participants, be the faculty members, the policymakers and the students and scholars, everybody joining for this event. That's going to be a great help to know about what are the BIRAC funding schemes are there, and also the main aspect of it. It's a world of a chat GPT, but I think I'm sure that the key elements of effective writing of a proposal will overcome the chat GPT, and that's where what is most important, because at the end of the day, any quality, great research, if you want to carry forward, you need to have a great funding, great facility, great infrastructure. And sometimes it is not possible to duplicate the infra in multiple places, and that is where the collaborations comes into picture. So you have multiple institutions, they work in a complementary nature with each other in terms of sharing the resources, the infrastructure, the expertise, the know-how, and also the technology transfers which can happen beyond the boundaries of the development. And that is where I think the developing the startup culture comes into picture. And at the end of the day, what it matters is that whatever the proof of concept to finally the productization or commercialization, which if it has to happen, we need to get into a segment where the startup plays a very, very important role to create a huge societal impact and kind of contribute to the society. I'm very happy to say that the BITS-Pilani has been, as I mentioned about this startup is the kind of in an ecosystem. We have a technology business incubators and BITS. The success stories are like 7,500 founders and co-founders have been produced by the BITS-Pilani. We have 14 unicorns. The promising names and known names are Big Basket and Swiggy and so on. You can see that these are the names which are coming out from BITS-Pilani, where I think many of them. And one of the first, I think, the early startup you can talk about is a Hotmail, which was, I think, it was again Sabir Bhatia, who is again a BITSian, and so on. So what I want to convey to all the participants that they take this opportunity with the open arms and try to learn. And I'm really grateful to Dr. Sonali and Dr. Prachi for coming forward and sharing the thoughts about how do you really write a good proposal, what are the opportunities exist? Because many times ignorance is not the bliss. You need to know what exactly lies outside, what are the opportunities are there, and how you can encash those opportunities. And that is where the important aspect of the opportunity we must know. BIRAC and BITS-Pilani has a fantastic relationship, let me just tell you that. We have been working on various fronts, and that is something which we would love to strengthen it further and further. So I'm requesting, I think, all the participants who are attending this workshop and take the opportunity to interact and get more and more insight. Reach out to us. BITS-Pilani would be any day, is always there for anybody who wishes to collaborate with us. Because without collaborations, we cannot move. It's like it's like a auto-driven or automatic-driven, like a Tesla car. The four wheels, I think if the one wheel is not there, the car will not move automatically. And that is where I think the people will have to collaborate with each other and work in a sync, so that I think it creates a win-win situation. So once again, I would like to congratulate both of Professor Chitkara and Rajnish about this workshop, which is getting organized for on the topic of demystifying the funding modalities, I4 and the PES schemes. And I'm sure that all the people will get benefited. Thank you, Sanket, for being part of it and kind of organizing this whole workshop. And I wish you all the best. Have a great day ahead. And I'm looking forward to seeing the feedback from all the participants. Maybe I would request both the guests, Dr. Sonali and Dr. Prachi, to visit Pilani campus and maybe conduct the workshop from Pilani campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Thanks
your
for the
kind words
invitation.
and blessing. Now I request Professor Sanket, who has spearheaded and guided us for this Technology Enabling Center from its inception stage and guiding us how to take this project forward in the region of Rajasthan. Professor Sanket.
Good morning, all of you. Good morning, Professor Barai, both the resource persons from BIRAC, Dr. Tandon and Dr. Kaushik, our colleagues, Dr. Deepak Chitkara and Rajnish. So I think it is really nice to organize this workshop online, and of course, many attendees have already started participating, and I would like to see that this number reaches in 3 digits in next few minutes, I hope. So I think we have been working with BIRAC for last several years. There have been several projects which our faculty members have been implementing, not only from the base side, but also the BIRAC big grants, which is eventually given to the startups and the serial entrepreneurs. So we believe that BIRAC is doing a great job in terms of aligning itself with the top government policies and incentives towards developing a huge entrepreneurship and incubation landscape in our country. Our country has really enhanced over the last several years to come in the ranking within top 50 countries in terms of a leading incubation country. And definitely in time to come, we have more scope to grow. In terms of the project which we have received from DST, Technology Enabling Center, the overall objective is how we can help the academic institutions, R&D bodies, private institutions, MSME, in terms of bringing them towards the focus of incubation and entrepreneurship. And I'm sure that in time to come, with support from agencies like BIRAC, definitely BITS Center will leave a huge mark in terms of implementation. So I wish all the best for this workshop, and including me, many of our faculty members are looking forward to have very nurturing and productive next 2 hours. Thank you so much once again to both of our friends from BIRAC, and as mentioned by Professor Barai, definitely we would like to have a in-person meeting with you in Pilani campus very, very soon. Thank you so much once again. All the best.
Thank you, Professor Sanket. Now I request Professor Deepak Chitkara to please speak about the Technology Enabling Center and let us know the ecosystem about this program and how they can avail the benefits through different programs which this tech program will come up in near future.
Yeah, respected Director Sir, Professor Sudhir Kumar Barai, Dean SRC, Professor Sanket Goel, our resource persons, Dr. Tandon and Dr. Kaushik, the representative members from the partner institutes, the faculty colleagues, the startup entrepreneurs, students, and my dear friends. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce the DST-sponsored Technology Enabling Center at BITS-Pilani. The Technology Development and Transfer Division of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, has been implementing the technology-related program since its inception, and establishing the Technology Enabling Centers in the university system by the DST is a step in this direction for creating an ecosystem for technology development and commercialization. Now, DST has selected BITS-Pilani to establish BITS-TEC in the state of Rajasthan with a generous funding support for the period of 5 years. The aim of the tech is to create an ecosystem that will bring together the regional academic institutions, the R&D institutions, industry, MSMEs, startups, incubators, for enabling the research, innovation, technology development, the improvement, and commercialization. Herein, the BITS-TEC will act as a catalyst and sensitize the regional stakeholders to a structured support on policy implementation, the IP management, the tech transfers, and commercialization activities. Now, our program advisory group has experts from the DST, experts from academia, and we also have stakeholders from the industry association, incubators, IP experts, as well as the members from the regional partner institutes that include the Vivekanand Global University, Central University of Rajasthan, MNIT Jaipur, then Maharana Pratap University of Agriculture and Technology Udaipur, and Bikaner Technical University. So these member partner institutes as well as the expert members of PAG will guide the activities in order to create the ecosystem in the Rajasthan region. And as Mr. Rajneesh has already highlighted that in today's activity, we have the speakers from the BIRAC to discuss the funding modalities and the key elements for effective grant writing that would guide and enable the academic innovators, startups and researchers to take their proof of concept to the commercialization stage with an active funding support from various BIRAC schemes. And with this, I thank everyone once again for being a part of this activity. Now over to you, Mr. Rajneesh.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak Chitkara. So Now we will start a presentation, but before that, I want to introduce our two eminent speakers. So today we have with us Dr. Sonali Tandon and Dr. Prachi Kaushik. Dr. Sonali Tandon is associated with the investment group of BIRAC as a chief manager. Her primary responsibility at BIRAC is managing our ongoing projects related to BIPP, which is a biotechnology innovation promotion scheme for industries and startup companies. She's also involved with the technical evaluation and monitoring of the projects in the area of device and diagnostics. She's a PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Research and Scientific Research, Bangalore. Her work has focused on identifying the characterizing drug targets of malarial parasite. Before joining BIRAC, she worked as a project manager at Rematrix India Private Limited, a company that is focusing on flow cytometry-based diagnostic product for HIV management. We have our second eminent speaker, Dr. Prachi Kaushik, who is currently working as a manager in the investment group of BIRAC itself and manages the biotechnology industry partnership program. She is involved in the technical evaluation of the different proposals under energy, environment, and secondary agriculture across different schemes of BIRAC. She has obtained a doctorate from IIT Delhi and in wastewater management treatment. And while working during her PhD program, she came out with an innovation and got that innovation patent protected. Now that patent is successfully transferred and been implemented as a demo plant and is still operating in one of the locations. She's also one of the winners of DST Lockheed Martin India Innovation Growth Program. With this, I welcome you all for this workshop today and all the participants who has joined us from different cities across India to get the most of the benefit of different schemes of BIRAC and see how you can avail and come out with your innovation with this funding support. So I want to invite our first speaker, Dr. Prachi Kaushik, to speak about the different biotechnology supported schemes and how these schemes can be useful to different stakeholders like startups, academicians, MSMEs. So Dr. Prachi Kaushik, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajneesh, and I really appreciate the opportunity given by the BITS-Pilani, the entire team for us from BIRAC to, teach the audience regarding the schemes which are being run at BIRAC. So without wasting any further time, I will just start my presentation. I hope my screen is to you all in the slideshow mode. You can all.
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, so Mr. Rajneesh has briefed us that the audience which we want to target today is basically from the academia. So although we are also including ISO scheme, but our main focus is going to be on the PACE program and other related schemes which are more suited for the academicians and the graduate students from the campus. So just a brief regarding Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, shortly known as BIRAC. So we all know that biotechnology sector is a very challenging sector. It requires heavy investments and involves high risk. The technologies and the products take a long gestation period to get commercialized. And although the success rate is low, but yes, it is a very highly rewarding sector. BIRAC, as we all know, is the Government of India enterprise. It is a Section 8 not-for-profit company which was set up by the Department of Biotechnology in the year 2012. It supports startups, entrepreneurs, and SMEs to develop innovative, affordable biotechnology products or technologies to address the unmet needs. So it is the central agency which empowers, enables, and accelerates biotechnology innovation ecosystem in India. It provides opportunities for entrepreneurship. It provides funding in forms of grants and investments. Incubation support through its one of the program is also provided for the setup of the bioincubators across the country. Mentorship is also provided both technical as well as for the business aspects of any company. And our grantees get recognition of their efforts which they are trying to put in to develop their products and technology at both the international as well as national platform. So this is the summary of what all BIRAC is doing and what all it is supporting through its various schemes. Various incubation centers are supported through its bionursing program. We provide early stage and translational R&D support through BIG, SIP, Sitare, PACE scheme, which is for the individuals and the academicians for their very early research ideas. Funding to the companies given through SIBRI and BIPP, which are covered under the ICO program. Then these, apart from these grant-based programs, we have certain schemes which are based on the equity funding, such as seed fund, lead fund, ACE fund, funds of funds, and bioangels. Other than these structured programs, we also have niche area programs which are based on very focused calls. And so far, we have taken out calls in the area of AMR, which is the antimicrobial resistance, COVID solutions, clean cooking solutions, Quargum, secondary agriculture, new drug development, synthetic biology, and various other niche areas of devices and diagnostics. Then, other than this, we have several mission programs which are PMUs are set up and managed through BIRAC, which includes GCI, which is the Grand Challenges India program, National Biopharma Mission, INCP, Make in India, and Startup India. Other than this, we are related to networking, showcasing, mentoring. We provide validation and commercialization support as well through Jancare, Wish, and PCP Fund. Then we have various partnerships, both national and international, with different government, public, and private agencies, including industries and various investors. So, funding assistance from BIRAC, whom do we support? We support all the stakeholders of the entire ecosystem of biotechnology in India, right from the individuals, startups, SMEs, encompassing the established biotech companies, research institutions, universities, various NGOs, and the societies, and the entire chain of product development, right from the inception of an idea to leading to proof of concept, establishing early and late stage validation, and the final scale up pre-commercialization and commercialization is funded through BIRAC scheme. So now the focus for today's webinar is on early and late stage research, which is supported through I4 and PACE program. I4 is basically for the companies and the PACE program is primarily curated for the academicians. And all the thematic areas covered under these programs, such as biopharmaceuticals, which includes drug delivery, biosimilars, regenerative medicine, stem cells, vaccines, various clinical trials which are happening under these areas. Then agriculture, veterinary science, aquaculture, devices, diagnostics, environment, energy, and secondary agriculture, including industrial biotechnology, is supported through this program. So this is, in nutshell, the various, the stages of the product development. And for each stage, we have curated schemes for such stages, which include for ideation, we have SIP program, which I would be dealing with in my presentation at the later part. Then for idea and support of idea, we have BIG program for established concept. For academicians, we have AIR program, and for the company for establishing proof of concept leading up to early stage development, we have SBIR scheme. Then for late stage development, validation and scale up, for academicians, we have the CRS scheme, and for companies, we have the IPP scheme leading up to pre-commercialization, and then finally the PCP fund, which is for enhancing the manufacturing capability of various startups so that they can commercialize their products. So all the stakeholders, including students, researchers, academicians, entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, can avail these schemes which are run by BIRAC for the commercialization or the development of their product or technology. So before going onto the schemes, I4 and the PACE program, I want you to have a basic understanding of technology readiness levels, because all these schemes are based on the TRL levels for each thematic area. If you go to the BIRAC website and just type in the TRL levels, you'll get a web page where the TRL levels for each and every thematic area which we have just described before are given. So keeping the NASA TRL levels as reference, BIRAC has also, detailed out definitions of all the TRL levels leading from TRL 1 to TRL 9, which is TRL 1 is basically 1 and 2 are considered as the basic technology research, where only a proof of principle is there. Some observations have been made by the innovators, and TRL 9 is supposed to be considered as the pre-commercialization stage. So in between, each level has been defined for each particular thematic area. And these TRL definitions will guide the innovators, evaluators, and investors in identifying the stage of technology um, at which they are currently and what level they need to attain. And along with that, these definition also include some of the regulatory requirements and the certifications which are required to progress through these TRL levels, which will help them in commercializing their technology or the products in India. So these regulatory requirements for each level is also indicated. So coming on to the I4 program, which is the intensifying the impact of industrial innovation. So this program supports biotechnological products or technology development by strengthening the R&D capabilities of startups, companies, LLPs, and the scheme aims to promote public-private partnership efforts in the country. It has two components, SBIRI, which is the Small Business Innovation Research Initiative, and BIPP program, which is the Biotechnology Industry Partnership Program. So just to have a the differentiator between these two, you can relate SIBRI as an early stage validation scheme and BIPP as a late stage validation scheme. So SIBRI scheme supports development and initial validation of new products and technologies, and any project which is intended to end at TRL 6 or below can be supported under SIBRI. Funding is in the form of 100% grant till 50 lakhs. So BIRAC gives 100% grant in under SIBRI to the applicant companies, and any amount which goes beyond 50 lakhs is distributed equally between the company and BIRAC. So let's say suppose if a project is of 100 lakhs, then 75 lakhs is contributed by BIRAC and 25 lakhs has to be contributed by company. Whereas if the project cost is 50 lakhs, then the entire contribution would be made by BIRAC. Then the BIPP program supports validation, demonstration, and pre-commercialization of products and technologies. And the endpoint of the proposed study should be TRL 7, which is the late stage validation or above. And irrespective of the amount, BIRAC's contribution to the total project cost does not exceed 50%. Just one exception is there for phase 3 clinical trials, where depending upon the merit of the project and the committee's decision, this amount can vary. Then under this I4 program, we announce 3 calls of proposals every year in all the thematic areas which I have just described. The call is announced. And there is no ceiling under this with regards to the cost of the project or the duration of the project. And the entire cost to the collaborating academic institute is borne by BIRAC. So although the company is the main applicant, but if the collaborator is an institute, they are not expected to make any contribution. They get 100% grant from BIRAC. So single or consortia of Indian companies or LLPs with or without an academic partner can apply under this scheme. And royalty for the company is supposed to sign a royalty agreement, which is admissible as per BIRAC guidelines. So that, like I said, that 3 calls are announced in each calendar year. We announce calls on 15th of Feb, 15th of June, and 15th of August. And we alternate a challenge call with a general call. So currently we have an open call which was announced on 15th of June and which will close on 31st of July. And this is a challenge call where a priority areas identified by BIRAC and the panel of experts has been advertised. I will go onto the details of this, the scope of this call later. So what is the eligibility of the companies to apply under this scheme? Like I said, it can be jointly or solely a company or an LLP which has been registered through Companies Act or LLP Act can apply. They can also collaborate with another company or LLP or any academic institute for this SIBRI or the IPT program. A company should have minimum 51% shares and that should be held by the Indian citizens. And the minimum half of the person who subscribe their names to the LLP document as its partner should be Indian citizens. So the applicant company or LLP should either have adequate in-house facility to address the project implementation, which shall be evaluated during the site visit, or they should be incubated with any of the recognized incubation facilities. So here I have tried to summarize the impact the I4 program, SIBRI and BITC have created so far since their inception. SIBRI is one of the oldest schemes which was incepted by DBT in the year 2006. And since inception, 328 projects have been supported and more than 50 patents have been filed and 87 products and technologies have been commercialized. For BIPP, which was the second scheme which was launched by DBT in the year 2009, the PPP mode. Under this, we have supported 240 projects and 38 patents have been filed and 95 products have been commercialized. Royalty, irrespective of the scheme, BIGS, SIBRI, and BIPP, royalty at the 5% of annual sales is supposed to be payable to BIRAC once the product has been commercialized. It only falls due beginning with the first sale of the product. If there are no sales, then the royalty clause is not, it doesn't become legitimate. Then the liability to pay royalty, terminating royalty amount paid by the applicant company is equal to the amount granted disbursed by BIRAC. Academia is not bounded by this clause, so they are not supposed to pay any royalty. So coming on to the main part of my presentation, which is the PACE program promoting academic research conversion to enterprise. So in a nutshell, I have tried to include the main features of PACE program through this slide. It has two components, academic innovation research program and contract research. So AIR, academia is the main applicant. They can apply individually or jointly, collaborating with another institute or collaborating with the industry. It is not mandatory, but if they have an industrial partner with which they think they will add on to their scope, then definitely they can collaborate and apply. So initially, this AIR scheme is basically curated for enabling academia to whatever proof of principle they have, they can establish their proof of concept. At the end of year, once the POC is established, we expect the academia to, come back to us again in the form of CRS scheme where they can collaborate with their industry and they can validate the results or scale up their results which they have, the technology which they have developed in collaboration with an industrial partner. For CRS, the industrial collaboration is a mandatory aspect because the validation and the scale up part has to be done by the company. And by the end of CRS, we expect that, with the validated results and the scaled up technology, the technology should be ready for a technology transfer or it should reach up to the pre-commercialization level. So like I said, there are two aspects. AIR, the scheme promotes development of proof of concept for a process product by the academia with or without the involvement of industry. The academia can also collaborate with another academia given the scope of the program, the project. And the contract research scheme, it aims at validation of a process or a prototype which is developed by the academia by the industrial partner. So what kind of projects are supported under AIR? Projects with well-established proof of principle leading to development of prototypes or a product or technology of a national relevance or commercial potential. Please note that the AIR scheme doesn't start with idea. Some proof of principle has to be there with the academician to apply under AIR. Basic exploratory research or projects without well-established proof of principle or with or no low commercial potential are not supported. We have a ceiling with the duration of the project, which is up to 24 months, and the total cost also have a ceiling which cannot exceed rupees 50 lakhs, and out of this 50 lakhs, only 10% of the amount can be considered as a non-recurring part for the purchase of it. Regarding IP rights may be with academia alone or jointly shared between the academia and industry as per the understanding between the two partners. BIRAC do not have any say in the terms and conditions of the IP. Who can apply under AO? So it's any academic institute, whether it's a public or a private institute, it's a university, NGO, or a research foundation, which have a well-established support system for research, can be the primary applicant for AO scheme. They can apply either individually or jointly with academia or industry partner. Industry partner will have the same eligibility guidelines as per the as they are laid under the I4 program. So for any public or private institute, university, NGO or research foundation, proper registration and accreditation from a government body is a mandatory requirement, which has to be uploaded while submitting the application. And like I said, participating companies has to be an Indian company with at least 51% Indian shareholders. The type of projects that are supported, coming on to the contract research type of projects that are supported. So like I said earlier, by the end of AIR, expect the company to, the academia to have an established proof of concept, which should be evident by a scientific data, which should be ready for validation by the industry in contract research mode. Academia has to be the primary applicant with one or more partners, of which at least one should be a company. Funding should be in the form, funding is in the form of a grant, which is given to both academic as well as the industrial partner. In CRS mode, the industry is not expected to make any contribution. The entire scheme is based on 100% grant from BIRAC. Regarding IPR, although the IP rights reside with the academia, the industry partner has the first right of refusal for commercial exploitation of the new IP. Other than this basic administrative criteria for AIR and the CRS scheme, we have some additional technical eligibility criteria for AIR, which we have introduced so that only the projects which have experienced PI and have translational potential, only those are submitted to us and those are considered for funding. So for this, the PI must have completed at least one or more extramural funded projects in India with cumulative project duration of 3 years and in the same research area of the project proposed. The project must have been funded by government funding agencies or industry and project executed as PI. And this is a very important point to know that the PI for the AIR project should be the PI of the project. The being a co-PI is not going to fulfill this requirement. Related sanction order is to be uploaded as proof while submitting the proposal. And secondly, the PI must have authored at least one publication and not an extract. It has to be a full publication indexed in a Scopus or a Web of Science research paper, which should be a peer-reviewed journal as a first or a lead author, or patents or any patent should have been filed in the same research area of the project proposed for AIR. Conference papers and review papers are not considered to establish the eligibility. In addition to this, the evidence of proof of principle and preliminary data, which has to be a mandatory upload, should be there with the proposal which has been already gathered by the applicant. It should not be referred to any literature review which is present. It should be the work of the applicant himself or herself. And it is a mandatory requirement which has to be submitted along with the application. And the absence of preliminary data will result in the disqualification of the proposal. Also, other than these two main mandatory criteria, a lot of credibility will be given on these aspects which I'm about to elaborate. A justification on how the project on completion would be CRS ready must be included. Like I said, AIR has been implemented by BIRAC to create a pipeline for CRS. So we expect by the end of AIR, the project must have an established proof of concept and should be ready for validation or a scale up by an industry. So therefore, a proposal should include the strategy for taking forward the outcomes and results towards product development with an industrial partner. And especially for proposals involving agriculture, they should have viable product or technology as an outcome that can be considered for advanced trials by the industry. And the AIR proposal is during AIR, the academia had come up with have applied along with some industry or partner. So they should keep in mind that it should be more than five. It should have completed more than 5 years of incorporation, and applicants are encouraged to have industry partners, although it is not a mandatory requirement. And the final technical objective milestone of the AIR proposal should reflect technology result that is near to industry readiness. Evidence of proof of concept, minimum TRL3 and validation ready data should be there for the CRS proposal. If the POC has not been established by the academia, it won't be considered under CRS. And proposals that have received AIR funding should have the same industrial partner who collaborated for the AIR project, and any deviation must be duly justified with clarity on the IP. So these are the technical eligibility criteria for CRS scheme. I'm sorry for this, I have mentioned AIR, but this particular slide is for the CRS. And the CRS proposal should be accompanied by the commitment letter by the industrial partner to exercise the first right for monetizing the product or a technology. So this summarizes the impact the PACE scheme has created so far since its inception. Through this scheme, we have supported 155 proposals, and AIR being a relatively new scheme which was launched in 2018, we are yet to see the full grown impact under this scheme. So till now, 13 products have been commercialized and 19 IPs have been filed through the scheme by different academic institutes and universities. So, like I said, 1R1 challenge call is still open and it will stay open till 31st of July up to 5:30 p.m. It is a challenge call, and the RFP has been advertised along with our advertisement. And the priority areas under the thematic areas of devices, diagnostics, biopharmaceuticals, biotherapeutics, energy, environment, secondary agriculture with veterinary sciences and aquaculture has been identified by BIRAC and the subject area experts. And these areas have been categorized under various thematic areas. For devices and diagnostics, proposals are invited for import substitution of high-end medical equipment, raw materials, consumables, disposables in the area of radiology and imaging. So I'm just going through I won't go into much details because this RFP is already available at BIRAC website. So I would suggest you to go through the RFP, although I have summarized, but it's the areas, just reading them out won't help much. So I can say that priority areas which have been identified by Government of India in the current year, along with the different mission programs that has been launched by Government of India, some areas have been picked up these mission programs and the announcements by the Government of India, and these have been categorized into various thematic areas of BIRAC schemes, vaccines, drugs, biotherapeutics, energy, environment, and secondary agriculture. Then agriculture, including veterinary sciences and aquaculture. So all this information is available at BIRAC website. So kindly go through the RFP before applying in the current fall. The next call, which is due to be publicized on 15th of October, is going to be a general call. In that call, we are not going to advertise any RFP for that matter. And although it will, if you are working in any area related to the thematic areas, you can apply. So, other than understanding what kind of projects are supported, it is equally important to understand what is not going to be supported by BILAC. So, proposals related to process or a product innovation which do not have any significant impact or commercial potential or any only incremental aspects are undertaken, so those are not supported. So it is very much expected that whatever proposal it has been submitted by BIRAC, it should have a significant impact or should have a commercial potential. Developed process should be sustainable from an economic and environmental point of view and should be scalable. And any information that doesn't support it, will not be considered. Then, by the end of the project, if we are looking at an AR proposal should end at TRL3. A proof of concept should have been established. For SIPRI, up to TRL6, the project should achieve early stage validation uh, and related regulatory requirements which were described in our document should have been achieved. For BIPP, achieving TRL7 and above is mandatory. So TRL7 is the baseline, which should be reached by the end of a BIPP project. So these are some of the modalities which are there for any project that is being supported by BIRAC. My colleague Dr. Sonali would go into the details of such modalities when she would take the grant writing part. So just a basic understanding, all the grants which is given by BIRAC for any project is given in installments. And for each project, we identify certain technical milestones based on which the review is undertaken, and based on the review, whether it is a satisfactory or unsatisfactory review, based on the recommendations, the releases are made. So that was about the PACE program. And then coming on to my next scheme, which is run by BIRAC, is the Social Innovation Immersion Program, which is the SIP program. It is aimed at creating a pool of biotech social innovators who can identify needs and gaps within communities and then can help bridge the gap through their product or any service which they develop through this program. So basically, what happens, any first fellow which is recruited, initial 6 months are given for the immersion program where they are, recruited, and various immersion workshops are carried out by the respective center where they get in touch with the various societal problems. They identify what all problems are there. They map those problems and come up with a solution for such problems. So initially, three problems are identified for which three solutions are proposed by the fellow. Then after a review, based on the committee recommendations, one such problem is finalized and the fellow works on it for the rest of 12 months to come up with a prototype. So the immersion program is a unique social innovation platform which provides the opportunity for the fellow for immersion to understand the society relevant problem, and funding support is given to develop the prototype in the form of a mini kickstart grant which is of up to rupees 50,000 per month, and various areas which are covered through this program are maternal and child health, aging and health, food and nutrition, waste to value, combating environmental pollution, agri-tech. So 14 FIRST centers have been set up under this program all over the country, through which this program is run. So various centers which I have shown in this uh, slide, where you can see CCAMP, IKP, FIT, IIT Kanpur, will grow. These are specific for each area, such as maternal and child health. So you go through these websites of these particular programs to understand which area they are targeting, and they take out a call to recruit first fellows in each calendar year, and they do the selection. BIRAC only monitors and manages the program. the final recruitment is done through these centers, and the first fellows which are recruited work in these centers for the implementation of and execution of their program, where they develop the prototype. So 50,000 per month is given as the fellowship, and rupees 5 lakhs is given as a mini start grant to each fellow. Clinical as well as rural immersion is carried out by the centers, and they get access to the entire BIRAC network for collaboration or mentorship. Time to time mentoring by the experts is also provided to these fellows, and opportunities for future funding is also given. So if you look at the impact, up to 70 Spurs fellows have been currently enrolled, and 80% of them have already received the follow-on funding either in the form of a BITS grant or a SIBRI grant if they create an or they successfully create an entrepreneur a startup is established through them by the end of the program, then they also are able to avail follow-on funding. Regarding the eligibility, any Indian undergraduate, BTech, BE, MBBS, or a postgraduate who has done the MSc, MS, MTech, MPhil, or MD program, or a PhD graduate who has yet to attain 35 years of age from the fields of the biological sciences is eligible to apply for the SIP fellowship. So other than these schemes, we have certain enabling service which for the promotion of the innovation ecosystem, which covers the various areas such as research resources, IP management, regulatory support, mentoring, capacity building, also provided through various schemes which are run by BIRAC. First one is the establishment of bioincubators through BioNest program. So to nurture the biotech entrepreneurial ecosystem, and the setup of the bioincubators is taken up for providing the incubation space, high-end equipment, and technical marketing and as well as business support to the incubated company. Then there are certain equities which are run by the BIRAC partners, some of the incubators in the form of a seed, leap, and A fund. Then we have BIRAC Path Scheme, which offers a wide range of IP and technology management services such as patent searches, patent drafting, filing technology, evaluation, marketing, and facilitating technology transfer. So for this, any BIRAC supported innovator which has been supported through any of the schemes of BIRAC is eligible to apply. Then we have Biotech Poster, which is the regulatory support which is given to not just BIRAC supported individuals or startups but by anybody. So it is a facilitation cell of innovation and regulation for startup innovators, any established company, SME, they can apply. And for this, under this, representatives from various regulatory agencies such as DTP, BIRAC, ICMR, CDSQ are available to take up the queries. They can post their queries to online portal or First Hub, and their queries are taken up by their representatives, and they get solution during the meeting itself. So it is open on every first Friday of the month. So each Friday, like we have one workshop session today itself, the first Friday of the month. So if you have any queries, you can just log into the BIRAC website, put in your query, and most probably your query can be taken up by this first hub session in the next month. So this is my final slide for the presentation, where I have summarized the impact BIRAC and its total capacity has created so far. So through BIRAC funding, up to 75 incubation centers have been set up, and more than 800 products have been already commercialized. More than 4,000 startups and other beneficiaries have been supported. So, and other than startups and the companies, 350 academia have already been supported through various schemes. Through these incubation centers, we have created more than 7.5 lakh square feet of incubation space. More than 1,300 IPs have been filed, and more than 3,900 crores have been given out to various beneficiaries in the form of the funding. So I would like to conclude my presentation here. And if you have any queries, although we are going to have one question and answer round by the uh, right now or maybe by the end of the entire session, you can always write to us for any queries related to the I4 program or the PACE program. Or if you have queries related to any other program which I have detailed in my presentation, we will direct it to the concerned manager. So thank you for your patience and listening to this my entire presentation. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Prachi, for covering the various BIRAC schemes, AIR, CRS, this SIP, right, and also telling about the various enabling services. So we'll have the question answers after our next session. So now I welcome Dr. Sonali Tandon for telling us about and guiding us on various areas where how we can bring up this I4 and PACE and what are the key elements we can take up while in the effective grant writing. So over to you, Dr. Sonali.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I hope you can see my slides and I'm audible to you.
Yes.
Having known where you need to submit your proposal, in the next part, I'll just touch upon the various aspects that the committee looks into when they are evaluating your proposal. So basically, this slide outlines the evaluation process once you submit your proposal to BIRAC. So like Prachi said, there are 3 calls announced every year and submissions are accepted only online. No offline submissions under any circumstances are entertained by BIRAC. Once your proposal is submitted, it goes through an administrative eligibility check, basically to see that all the eligibility requirements that Prachi had just detailed are met in your proposal submission. If there are some gaps, we try to get back to you and address them, but we would encourage you to submit all the required documents when you're putting forth your proposal for evaluation. So having cleared the eligibility check, the proposal enters into the first technical round of evaluation, which is the area review panel round, which basically means that we have 4 panels comprising of various subject experts. The first panel dealing with projects in the area of devices and diagnostics. Second, looking at the other areas within healthcare, which are basically drug delivery, biosimilar, stem cells, vaccine, clinical trials. That forms the second panel committee. The third committee is comprises of experts from the area of agriculture, veterinary sciences, and aquaculture. And the fourth committee comprises of members from environment, energy, and secondary agriculture area. So based on the submission that you have made, we prepare in-house reports, basically telling what the aim of your proposal is, what you intend to do, what your technical strength is, and what you have already done towards the idea that you are proposing. So all these details get picked up from the submission that you have done and gets presented to the individual committees. And based on the data that is presented, the committee takes a call whether this should be going into the next round of evaluation or not. So those who clear this round enter into the next round, where the applicant is expected to come and make a presentation to the technical expert committee of BIRAC, which is empowered to take decisions with regard to the sanction of the project. So the applicant is expected to again outline his workflow, his experience, and if it's under a BIPP scheme, how are you going to bring in your contribution into the project? So these are broadly the aspects that are evaluated by the committee. And based on the presentation that is made, the committee takes a decision whether this moves forward into the next phase, which is the phase of site visit, where we have 2 types of people interacting with you. It's now physical. We have a technical team visiting your facility to see to interact with you, to understand in details the nitty-gritties of the project that you have proposed, the work plan that you're proposing, any other hurdles that you envision during the project. And in this project, whatever objectives, milestones, activities, timeline, budget that you have proposed, all that get evaluated by the site visit committee, which typically comprises of 2 subject experts and a BIRAC representative who gets associated with your project. So this team looks at the overall project, and it is during this phase that the final outcomes of the project, its objectives, milestones, budget, and timelines gets finalized. Simultaneously, we also have a financial due diligence conducted where we have BIRAC empaneled CA visiting your facility and examining your financials. Only so this is limited to the scope of the project, uh, that the CA examines all the documents, any legal issues or any other defaults that the company would have done, all that get recorded in the financial report. So together, so this technical and the financial report now gets presented to the apex committee, which is chaired by Secretary DBT, and this is the final committee who takes a decision of whether the project should be financially supported by BIRAC or not. Once the apex committee clears the proposal for sanction, we issue the grant in aid letter agreement, which is basically the legal document executed between BIRAC and the company for taking the project forward, and your financial releases get processed accordingly. So this is in broad the evaluation process. The entire process from the close of the call to the recommendation of the apex takes typically 5 to 6 months. We are working on aspects to see how we can reduce so that the evaluations can happen faster as we move on. Once you think that you want to submit a proposal, be it to any other agency, I will talk in terms of BIRAC because that's where this session is for. But in general, you should do your homework well. You should be able to understand what the perspective of the funding agency is. That is, what type of projects do they support and what do they entertain? That should be very clear in your mind so that accordingly you can frame your proposal to be submitted for evaluation. And this should be as rigorous an exercise as you do when you're pitching to an investor. So here, even the government agency to whom you're submitting your proposal is like an investor in your company, and it invests in the idea that you're proposing. Uh, the you should develop a very meaningful action plan as to what you want to do and how you want to do, because this gives the committee a confidence that you understand all the nitty-gritties associated with the project that you're proposing. You should also have all the deliverables to be met clearly defined, and there should be no ambiguities on that. Like Prachi said, there are 2 types of call BIRAC announces. One is an open call, and other is a specific call for which an RFP is published, where we basically BIRAC directs you which are the areas that is going to support in the current call. So if it's a challenge call against which you're submitting a proposal, make sure you have gone through the RFP and submit proposals only in the relevant areas. Otherwise, it is not taken forward through the evaluation cycle. So in terms, this is just a repeat from what Prachi would have already told you. If we talk of BIRAC's perspective, we support projects related to process and product innovation with significant impact on commercial potential. No basic research is supported by BIRAC. There are other agencies that do that, but from BIRAC perspective, any proposal that is submitted to BIRAC should have a tangible outcome which takes you closer to commercialization, and just not end at hypothetical good to know data sort of ends. And whatever process or a product that you are proposing to develop should be sustainable from an economic as well as environment point of view, and should be scalable so that it could address the need of the masses at large. What's not supported, again, a repeat from Prachi would have wanted, just to reassert the fact that exploratory research ideas are not supported. Proposals without preliminary data. So there are schemes in BIRAC like BIG which support basic ideas, but the I4 and PACE scheme on which today's seminar was focused, we look at proposals which already have some preliminary data available, just to give confidence that the proposed process or the technology has already been tested, maybe at a very small scale, and is workable. And funding can be sought for scaling it up or validating the technology under I4. This funding cannot be used merely to support BST student research, because these are of having limited timelines. Like under AIR, you have a ceiling of 24 months. So and rigorous milestones are defined. So it has to be well thought through. And again, if it's a challenge call, you have to keep in mind the priority areas under which the proposals have been invited. So the broad parameters that are adopted by the committee for the evaluations of proposals that are submitted to BIRAC are the scientific merit, the level of innovation, because it's expected that the product is not just a me too product. It should have something that makes it stand out from what's already available in the market. It may be cost, it may be some feature of maybe increased sensitivity, increased specificity, or multiplexing, something of that sort, that makes it stand out from what's already available, and it's just not a duplication of what's already been done. The commercial potential is absolutely important. Like I said, BIRAC does not entertain basic research-based proposal. We look for commercial outcomes at the end of the project. The approach and the methodology, how clearly that is defined, that's a major factor that the committee considers. The credentials of the investigator as well as his team, to have confidence that you have the competence to take the proposed product forward. The regulatory issues, though BIRAC guides the innovators in this regard, because we have a regulatory cell and a regulatory committee that screens every proposal to identify what are the regulatory issues that will be associated with the development that's proposed. But it's expected that you have at least a basic understanding of what are the regulatory requirements of the product or the technology that you are proposing to develop. Preliminary work, like I said, is absolutely essential for both these schemes, be it I4 and PACE. No basic idea is supported. You should have some supporting documents to say that the idea that you are proposing works in your hands. Your past performance and track record, this is for people who are coming back to BIRAC for the second round of funding. Your performance in the previous project, be it both in terms of administrative issues as well as technical outcomes, is evaluated and placed for the consideration of the committee. How well you have done in your previous project, how timely you have achieved what you set out to do, and how your response has been during the entire project duration is evaluated by the committee. And of course, the time frame, it should not be too relaxed, basically suggesting that whatever you're developing has to reach the market when it's most needed and not wait for long periods. So the key questions that you need to address while you are putting together a proposal is the problem statement, what you're trying to do, what are the key objectives and the outcomes of the proposal. Those should be very clear and should not be vague at all. The impact that the proposed product or technology is going to make, like I said, it's not a me too product is generally not expected out of I4. We expect you to come up with a product which stands out from what's available. The risk mitigation strategies and the backup plans should be in place, so that once the proposed work plan fails, how do you plan to go do a roundabout but still achieve the target that you have set out to do? So that plan should be handy with you. The experience of the team should be very clearly drawn out in the proposal, so that the committee gives the confidence that you are competent to take this proposal forward. And obviously, a track record, which suggests that you have to deliver strictly on what's been set for you in the BIRAC projects. So the main components of a project proposal, I've outlined them here. We'll take one by one quickly each of these parts so that you understand what is expected in each of these sections. So we start off with the project title. This is a very important part because the title gives you an idea of what the scope of the study is and what you would read as you go forward. So this is the first impression that you get when you start reviewing a proposal. Your title should be very crisp, short, and precise to what you intend to do. Say, for example, you're doing a validation of a product or a drug or a device. So your title should be something like clinical validation of this particular technology or whatever it is. It cannot, because we get proposals which talk of uh, long 2-3 statements of a project title, which does not give a very good impression, first impression of the proposal. So keep your title very short and crisp. The abstract, summary, or the aim, whatever you may call, these are three same things, uh, should be very well defined, because this should present the most important elements of your proposal in a few sentences. And it is important that the summary uh, defines what is the purpose or the goal of the project, and what is it that you intend to address while by executing the current project. What are the expected outcomes of your project, and how will you verify the success of your project? So the success matrix should also be defined in your summary itself. And what is your current status? Basically, what you have already done should also get reflected in the summary in a very short sentence. And the summary is always expected to be a standalone document and should not carry any reference to any other part of the project proposal, so that with this short paragraph, the reader gets an idea of what the scope of the project is, how important it is to do this project, and what you have already done to address this important problem that you're proposing in the project proposal. So all this should come out in a short paragraph as a part of the summary statement. The next is the problem statement, which basically forms the body of your entire project proposal. This is also known as need statement or the statement of need. At different places, you will see these names being referred to. So the problem statement basically defines the problem that you set out to solve, like why you are doing something that you're proposing, and how you intend to provide the solution to the problem that you have identified. And for this, the forming of the problem statement, it is expected that you do extensive research of what all has already been done. If there have been failures by others, you should have been able to identify those failures and also think through how differently you will do it now, so that you don't fail like others in that same area. So all this should come out very well in the problem statement that you prepare for your project proposal. So it is expected that a good problem statement should show that you understand the problem very well. It should be able to demonstrate that this is a very important issue that you're trying to tackle, uh, both at the national level as well as at the regional level. It should clearly describe the aspects of the problem that the project will address, because the committee is aware of the fact that in a single project proposal, you cannot move right from development up to a multi-center validation, right? You have to phase out your project. So when you're defining the problem statement for the proposal that you're submitting, you should be very specific to what part of the product development cycle that you're going to tackle in the current proposal. So that should be very clear in the problem statement. Uh, the basis of your project and the knowledge of the issues surrounding your proposed project, like I said, it's expected that you do a thorough literature survey to identify the gaps, mistakes done by other, and propose a plan of how you're going to address those issues so that their chances of success ensured over here. If there's any, generally, uh, uh, it's expected that you don't present loads and loads of data, but some important literature references, be it in terms of graphs or tables or some data published elsewhere, which you think is important to support your idea, that part would be presented. Also, you should be able to, because BIRAC focuses a lot on innovative technologies, any element of innovation in the product or the technology should be clearly brought out in the problem statement. And how, if you are a company which is dealing with different product lines, how the current project fits into your company's goal at large. That should also weave out into the problem statement. So if you look at the BIRAC proposal submission format, you see different headlines like novelty and innovation, significance and impact, rational, social relevance and national importance. So these are the things that you're expected to fill in when you're submitting a proposal to BIRAC. So if you have a problem statement very well defined, you can address each of these sections very well and place data accordingly. So the next important part for BIRAC submissions in particular is the market potential and the competitor products that already exist. It's expected that you have done a thorough market survey, identified all your competitors that exist in a particular area, and accordingly define the USP of your current project and how the proposed product or the technology would stand out from all that's already available. So these aspects should be very clear to a reader in the proposal that has been submitted. Preliminary work is absolutely important in BIRAC perspective for both I4 and PACE. Like I said earlier, basic research or just an idea being proposed is not entertained under these two schemes. Any relevant data that you have for the project that is being proposed, make sure it's submitted. If you miss out submitting the preliminary work, the project is not carried forward to the subsequent round of evaluations. Also, make sure that the data that is being submitted is related to the work. It's just not a matter of submitting something. It should be adequate to support the hypothesis and also provide clarity to what you intend to do. So this has to be kept in mind. Next very important part are the goals and objectives. So basically the difference between the two is that whenever you submit a proposal, it has one or two broad goals. Like for an example, you would say that you would optimize your product or technology and validate. So these two become the goal of your current submission. To achieve these two goals, you would define certain objectives, basically what you would do to achieve these two goals that you have defined. So that should clearly spell out in the proposal, and uh, all the steps that you would do to achieve each of these goals and objectives should be clearly outlined. It is expected that the proposal objectives are very specific uh, and not very vague. They should be measurable, like against each objective or goal that you define, how would the outcomes be evaluated? This should be clearly spelled out. Uh, if it's a collaborative project where you have different partners participating in the proposed study, you should be able to assign clear responsibilities for each of the objectives to the different partners. And it should not be a gray zone in this partnership. All should have equal responsibilities. Your objective should be realistic. So every project proposal has a defined budget and defined timelines. So make sure that your objectives are achievable within the budget and the timeline that has been defined. Don't be over ambitious and put in too much and ultimately fail to achieve. So that's not very positive. You should be cognizant of the time and the budget that's available to achieve what you set out to do. And also, it should be time bound, suggesting that each of the objectives at what time would you achieve, that should be clear. The methodology and the timelines, this is basically the work plan of how you intend to achieve each of these objectives. So we expect you to submit a Gantt chart as well as some details on each objectives, the major experiments or the major activities that would be done to achieve each of these objectives should be spelled out in your proposal. Also, as per the BIRAC format, you are expected to, for the objectives that you have proposed, you are expected to identify specific milestones. This is very important because your releases, the fund release is linked to the accomplishment of these milestones. So be careful in picking the milestones. Also ensure that your milestones are spread out across the project duration and not concentrated in the beginning or the end, so that the cash flow is distributed across the project timeline. The budget should be very exhaustive. If you have gone through the proposal format, you are expected to give details on every aspect, like if you're proposing a non-recurring budget, expected to outline the line items under each. Consumables, the major headings, what are the major items that you're going to buy under consumables. Manpower in particular, what are the positions that you need for executing the project, who would be hired and who are already available. All that data should be available in the submission itself. You should be able to justify all the costs that you have defined. It should not be an overshoot or an underestimate. In either of the two cases, it's not a very positive sign. And if you're required to bring in your contribution into the project, which is an I4, your source of getting in that contribution should be defined, and you should be able to provide evidence for that in the submission. The team strength and expertise gives you, which outlines your past experience in executing projects in general and the current technology that you are being proposed. All that becomes very important. You have a section in the proposal submission where you're expected to provide your CV. It's a particular format that BIRAC has shared. It is deliberately kept that way so that your expertise in reference to the project that you are proposing clearly stands out. So please ensure that you follow that format and fill in all the relevant data so that the team strength, which gets presented to the first level of evaluation, which is the ARP committee, gets adequately reflected. If it's a drug or a device-based project where you're proposing to do clinical validations, it's always good to have a clinician on board. Or even if that's not possible, you should at least have mentors associated to your group who can guide you through the project development cycle. Technical and business mentors, if you have them associated to your company, do list them out in the submission. They add value to the team strength. The common shortcomings that we see in various proposals submitted to BIRAC, which also form a basis of rejection and in good number of cases, is that the proposal lacks clarity. You're actually not sure of what you want to do. It's not very well spelled out. The objectives are very diffused, so that a reader does not give an understanding of what exactly you want to achieve at the end of the project. Preliminary data missing, that's the most common reason for rejection of BIRAC proposals. So please ensure that if you have adequate preliminary data, which is relevant to the product or the technology that you are proposing, gets presented in your submission. The novelty or the edge over the competitive products should be clearly spelled out. If that's not clear, it seems to be a very regular or a routine product. The committee does not favorably look at it. The budget, like I said, it should not be an overquote or an underestimate. It should be clearly aligned to the objectives that you're proposing. So make sure that you have thought through the budget and its line items very well. Inadequate methodology. The experts always like to see some details on how you would want to achieve what you set out to do. So at least that adequate amount of information should be available. Inappropriate timelines. Some people make it too aggressive and some people really relax on it. Make sure that it's a balance between the two. Whatever objectives you set out to be, those should be achievable in the timelines that you're proposing. Shorter timelines don't ensure that the project will get supported. That's not the case. It should be realistic. The USP, the need, the commercial potential, all that in BIRAC perspective is very important and should come out in your proposal. Some other things that you quickly need to remember when you're submitting your proposal to BIRAC. If it's a challenge call like the current one, please read the RFP document so that you submit the proposal in the relevant area. Select the right scheme for your application. Prachi has given you the various eligibility criteria of each of the schemes. Make sure that you have gone through the scheme documents which are available on the BIRAC website before you select the scheme under which you want to submit your proposal. The regulatory requirements, some basic requirements you should know at least. We will guide you more on the specifics. A proper selection of a collaborator is very important. They should have a significant role to play in the project. So you should pick out your partners very well. If you're expected to bring in your contribution under CIPRI or PACE, make sure that you have the required information handy to be able to provide when required. Always keep in mind the deadline for the submission of proposals. Like I said, only online submissions are accepted by BIRAC. Any offline submission, for whatever reasons, are not entertained. Don't wait for the last minute or the last day. In fact, servers crash, internet slow, all such things happens, and after the call closes, we are flooded with emails having various reasons of why a company could not submit. But as a policy, we are not able to accept them. So then you'll have to wait for another 4 months for the next call to be launched before you could submit your proposal. So please, would urge you to submit your proposals well in time. The calls are open for 45 days. Don't wait for the 45th day to happen. The following documents which are required for the basic eligibility, administrative eligibility check, which is your shareholding certificate, certificate of incorporation, incubation agreement, those should be uploaded in your primary submission that is done to BIRAC. Having said that, please remember that every champion was once a contender who never refused to give up. The wisdom of the lessons that you learn with every submission of a grant application, whether it is funded or denied, improves your next application. It at least gives you some knowledge of what different has to be done in their previous submission. So the only mantra to success is rewrite, revise, resubmit. And make sure when you resubmit, you take into account all the reasons and address all those reasons for which your previous submission was rejected. BIRAC makes sure that at every point of the project evaluation, we do communicate to you the comments of the committee so that you can improve your submissions for the next time. So with this, I would like to end here. My email ID is here. Please feel free to write to us anytime. We could now open it up for question and answers, and we could address it accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sonali, for taking across on the key elements of grant writing, which is an important aspect and need to be covered. And a lot of there are gaps and hurdles which faculty faces while writing these grants, and some of the points are really technical related to IP ownership on the kind of research commercialization. And now I'm seeing there are some new innovative questions with respect to market related to the technologies which are generally asked in different grant applications. So maybe if you can also let us know on some of the questions. Right now, I'm not getting any questions from the audience. I request if anyone has questions, they can write down in the chat box. But in the meantime, there are a couple of questions which I and Professor Chitkara wanted to put forward. Professor Chitkara, do you want to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, these are basically very, very nice coverage we have done for the BIRAC scheme, right? Starting for the introduction part and what it contains and what are the key elements which are required for that. So one of the key questions, particularly with regard to the AIR scheme or the CRS scheme, when we are approaching any company partner. So in that case, is it the requirement for a private limited company always, or we can go with a LLP as well when we are collaborating with the industry or any other company in these schemes?
So for early, it was only the private limited company under the CRS, which is, but now while we are supporting LLCs under the ICO, BIPP and CIBRI, so we are revising our guidelines to include LLCs as well as the prospective collaborator under CRS. Only you'll get a revised guideline where the LLC.
Okay. So currently we have these private limited collaborators.
But soon it will.
Okay. And another one is on the like on the grant writing part, particularly from the parameters perspective, when we say the key parameters for the evaluation part. Like so we have a list of these key parameters which are looked by any agency on which the proposal is evaluated. But these parameters, are there any benchmarking done on that? Because these parameters are quite subjective and may vary from area to area. So if a person submitting in one area, the innovation will be looked in a different way as compared to the other one. So are there any parameters or the benchmarking which the faculty or an innovator can look into?
There are no parameters per se, but like I said, we have 4 different panels. So that's the intent. We have 4 different panels so that each area can be evaluated in light of its own challenges. So the parameters are not uniform across all thematic areas. We understand some are really long, drawn-out projects and have a very long life cycle, whereas maybe devices are short span projects. So that is accounted by the committee while they are evaluating any proposal.
Okay. Yeah. That's all from my side.
Sure. So one of the questions which I wanted to ask you is related to contract research scheme, where faculty wanted to apply for some of the validation studies with a third party, such as like contract research organization. Is it mandatory that once we do such kind of partnership that the IP need to be shared with them in case an IP already belongs to the institute?
So the company has the first right of refusal as well. If the company thinks that they don't want to collaborate further, they can refuse. But it is not a mandatory requirement because the technology is validated, so the academia can look out for another industry who would be willing to take up the technology further. But during CRS, the IP rights, the technology should reside with the academia at the time when they apply to CRS.
Okay. So the foreground IP need to be decided on in case there is an active input coming from the industry in terms of inventive step.
Yes, and the terms and conditions are mutually to be decided by the company and the academia. BIRAC do not have any role in that.
Okay.
We have few questions.
Great. Please take it.
Yeah, so we have a few questions in the chat box also. Like the question is from Akshada Cardpaker, that can the data such as techniques established in the lab which will be used in the project proposed be considered as preliminary data?
So if it's a major, if that technique itself forms the body of the entire proposal, like your hypothesis is based on the technique itself, then it can.
Okay. So then we have another question from Dr. Kulkarni. It's a wonderful presentation and information from the BIRAC. Thank you so much for both the speakers. So the question is that if such a presentation can be arranged on BIG as well, so they will be also looking to have on the BIG call.
Right.
So I'm sure Rajneesh can approach the BIG team, or I think the
Sure.
incubators also themselves do such sessions. So probably you can get in touch with them and they would be happy to host it.
Yeah. And another thing, that what is the minimum TRL level for the I4 scheme?
There's nothing like a minimum TRL level. You should have some data. That means you should be at least at 2, 3 when you're approaching. What we have for SIBRI and BIPP are the end TRLs. In SIBRI, you can go up to 6, and in BIPP, you're expected to be 7 and above. So we don't have a strict definition on the minimum TRL that is required for entry into the 2 schemes.
For SIBLI, you can say the expected TRL is TRL2 at the beginning, and for BIPP, proof of concept should have been established to TRL3, but it is not mandatory. It is only the expected TRL at the stage. That should be, your technology should be for applying to SIBLI.
Okay. So then we have a question from Dr. Sanchita Srivastava, that she said that she did her PhD in 2014 and taken a gap in the career for some years, and now she wants to start the career, and she's having various ideas in her mind but not knowing how to start, or as such she's not associated with any particular organization. So can you just guide her in what way she can initiate the things, or what kind of grants she can look into from the BIRAC perspective?
So like I described the program is also there, so you can approach 14 of the centers which are running this program. They recruit search fellows. You have, since you said that you already have some ideas, so just firm that up, get decide upon the solution how you can do it. Then there are certain other small programs. They are being run at BIRAC, such as the Soch program. They are Pioneer Awards, which is specifically for the women candidates. So please go through our website. You'll get a lot of programs where the individuals are also supported. If you don't want to get associated with any academic institute or company, you can explore those as well.
Okay, so we have one more question that considering there are just 3 weeks left to apply, would you encourage submitting a half-baked proposal just to get the initial feedback of the committee, or would you suggest that we spend the next 3 months to develop a robust proposal?
The second option is better because, like I said, even if your proposal is not recommended in any call, that history also gets presented to the expert committee and it does not give a very good impression. So spend some time in formulating the proposal well and then submit a full nice proposal so that there are chances of success.
Okay. So, yeah, another question, how much stake BIRAC takes for AIR or CRS grants?
We don't take any stake. I actually didn't get the question. We don't have any stake in the IP. We give grants over here. If that was the question.
Yeah,
Even
I also.
royalty is not involved in this, so no stake at all. It's all 100% grant.
Yeah, okay. And does provisional patent works as a preliminary data? So if they have filed some provisional patent application.
So the technology where you have whatever you have patented, you will have to disclose some details on that in the preliminary data section. Because the patent per se does not give much information. So you'll have to disclose at least some parts for the committee to understand what you have done for the proposal that you're putting. So you'll have to ensure that.
Okay, so these are the questions that we have, and I believe the attendees can also connect with you because you have already shared your email IDs and they can approach you guys for any further questions.
Sure, definitely. I just want to add on the previous question of BIG. So the Hyderabad campus of BITS-Pilani is doing a BIG workshop in partnership with CCAM, which is a BIG partner, on 11th of July. So anyone wanted to join that workshop, they are most welcome to join that workshop. The links are available on BITS website, BITS Hyderabad website. You can also approach the research and innovation website of BITS-Pilani, where you can get this link to join for this upcoming BIG workshop. So if there are not any questions from audience, okay. So now I want to thank Dr. Shunali and Dr. Prachi for taking out time to do this workshop and taking her across the different BIRAC schemes which different stakeholders can take benefit of. I understand, since I have been a part of BIRAC itself, now BIRAC has a gamut of different schemes starting from idea up to the commercialization level. So the different stakeholders, startups, innovators, faculty, entrepreneurs, those who are at different stages, they can avail BIRAC funding opportunities in these different domains. And BIRAC has really helped all these stakeholders to carry this and cross this valley of death, where earlier there was not so much of funding support provided to faculties or startup companies, those who are at that stage at that point of time. I also would like to thank the leadership at BIRAC for helping us conducting this workshop and the previous workshop in grant writing. With this, I want to thank both the speakers today, and we look forward to have more such workshop with BIRAC, and now maybe next time in person at in any of the BITS campuses. So thank you, Dr. Shunali, and thank you, Dr. Prachi, for
We
having
would in
us.
fact like to thank you and your team also, Rajneesh. We always look out for opportunities to reach out to the stakeholders so that we can also get nice proposals to evaluate and take them forward. Thank you so much for hosting this for us.
Thank you. Thanks so much, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rajneesh, just one last request. Could you please share
Yeah.
us the contact IDs of all the participants so that we could add them to our mailing list?
Sure, definitely we can share that Excel sheet with you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.